There is a version of you that exists after 11 days without sleep, and that version of you is no longer entirely human. Not metaphorically, biologically. The machinery inside your skull begins to collapse in a sequence so precise, so systematic, and so brutal that researchers who have studied it describe the process less like a gradual decline and more like watching a building being demolished floor by floor, from the top down. Most people treat sleep like a luxury, a preference. Something you trade away for deadlines, for Netflix, for one more hour of feeling like you own your own time. But sleep is not a preference your body offers you. It is a non-negotiable biological debt, and the interest it charges when you refuse to pay is unlike anything else in human physiology. The first thing to go is your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes you functionally a person. After just 17 hours without sleep, your cognitive performance drops to the equivalent of a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. You are, for all neurological purposes, mildly drunk. Your reaction time's slow. Your ability to assess risk degrades. Your emotional regulation, the internal voice that tells you not to say the thing you're thinking, goes quiet. This is why sleep-deprived people make bad decisions, start arguments over nothing, and feel a creeping, formless anxiety they cannot locate the source of. The source is structural. The architecture of rational thought is already wobbling. Push past 24 hours, and the chemistry shifts dramatically. Your body begins producing elevated levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone, in a desperate bid to keep you functional. Your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure climbs. Inflammatory markers in your blood spike. What your body is essentially doing is borrowing energy from your future health and spending it to keep you upright right now. It is a loan with catastrophic terms. Your immune system, sensing the emergency, starts pulling resources away from its normal surveillance duties. The T cells that hunt down pathogens and cancerous mutations become sluggish. Your body, in other words, becomes less capable of defending itself at the exact moment you are subjecting it to maximum stress. By 36 hours without sleep, something stranger begins to happen. The emotional centers of your brain, specifically the amygdala, which processes fear and threat, become dramatically overactive. Studies using fMRI imaging have shown that the amygdala's reactivity increases by up to 60% in sleep-deprived subjects. 60%. What this means in practice is that small frustrations feel like catastrophes. Neutral faces start to look hostile. The world begins to feel genuinely threatening in a way that has no rational basis, because your brain's threat detection system is no longer being calibrated by sleep. It is running hot, unsupervised, and wild. This is not a side effect, this is the mechanism. Sleep, it turns out, is the process by which your brain literally rehearses and resets its emotional responses. During REM sleep, the deep, dream-heavy stage that dominates the later hours of a sleep cycle, your brain replays emotionally charged memories, but strips away the cortisol spike that originally accompanied them. You wake up having processed the event, but without the raw, jagged edge of the original stress response. Miss that window, and the emotional charge accumulates. Each sleepless night is another layer of unprocessed experience compressing inside you. This is partly why chronic sleep deprivation is so tightly correlated with anxiety disorders and depression. You are not sleeping off your stress, you are stacking it. At 72 hours, 3 full days, the brain begins producing experiences that have no external source, hallucinations. Not the soft, dreamlike blurring at the edge of vision that you might have noticed after a single bad night. Real hallucinations. People see insects crawling across walls that are perfectly still. They hear voices calling their names from empty rooms. They watch shadows move against the direction of the light. The brain, starved of the internal processing time it needs, begins confusing memory fragments and prediction signals for real sensory input. The boundary between what is real and what is being generated internally starts to dissolve. Peter Tripp, a disc jockey who stayed awake for 201 hours in 1959 as a publicity stunt, reported by Day 4 that his shoes were full of writhing worms. He believed a man in a suit who entered his room was an undertaker who had come to bury him. Toward the end, he could not tell whether he was Peter Tripp or someone else entirely. He recovered, mostly, after sleeping. But people who knew him said something about his personality had changed. That something had been rearranged in the long, dark process of putting it back together. The most extreme and terrifying illustration of what sleep deprivation truly does to a human being is a condition called Fatal Familial Insomnia. It is a prion disease, caused by a misfolded protein, that destroys the thalamus, which is the brain's central relay station and the structure responsible for initiating sleep. People with FFI gradually lose the ability to sleep entirely. First, they lose the ability to reach deep, restorative sleep. Then they lose the ability to sleep at all. Within months, they are dead. The progression moves through sweating, then panic attacks, then hallucinations, then dementia, then total system failure. There is no treatment, there is no recovery. The body, denied sleep by structural damage, simply runs itself to complete destruction. It is one of the only diseases in medicine where the mechanism of death is, essentially, the absence of a single biological process. What this tells us, what all of this, taken together, tells us, is something that fundamentally reframes the way most people think about rest. Sleep is not the time when nothing is happening. Sleep is the time when everything that matters is happening. The brain is not offline. It is running maintenance that cannot be run while the system is in use. It is consolidating memory, regulating hormones, resetting emotional baselines, clearing metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, and restoring the molecular architecture of cognition. The body is not resting, it is rebuilding. The culture that tells you to sleep less and do more has it completely backward. Every hour you steal from sleep, you are not gaining an hour of life. You are spending it. You are pulling forward health, clarity, emotional resilience, and years from your future self and burning them for the present. The most radical, counterintuitive act of high performance you can commit is not grinding harder. It is protecting, with total ferocity, the 8 hours in which your brain becomes human again.